going on? Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
Are you over there and I'm over here? What's going on?
Yeah, that was wrong.
That was wrong. All right. We good. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Stuck in the Catch Fence. I'm with Joe Mama.
That's
Not your mom, but Joe Mama. I'm Ryan Peters, as is said for those that can't read and are listening to this. And we had some stuff to talk about today, Joe. As we were delayed. We were anticipating hearing this yesterday, and
Yeah,
that's
it went well. My vasectomy went off without a hitch.
oh, okay. That's not what the pictures looked like, but that's fine. Yeah, I didn't think that could put that into it's fine. So besides that, Joe, not
Yeah.
that you used that anyway, but we were waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. Elton Sawyer on Sunday night lied to our faces.
Right to our face.
He said we were going to hear about it Tuesday, and we heard crickets. We didn't hear nothing. And today, the news came out that Austin Dillon has had his win encumbered. And if you don't know what that means, that does not mean that it has been penetrated by a cucumber. That means that he is allowed to keep its win and get nothing from it. He is the winner in the trophy book, in the history book, but gains nothing from winning. He lost his playoff spot. He actually was deducted 25 points, driver points and owner points. And then we had other news on top of it. His spotter has been suspended for 3 races because NASCAR doesn't like when you say wreck 'em. And Austin Dillon goes, gotcha. And also we lost $50,000. Not we, Joey Logano lost $50,000 for being one badass, just being as tough as one can get by doing a burnout after almost hitting a family on pit road, because God knows it was the people on pit road that made him upset, not the person in the car that just turned him outside of turn 4. So that is today's news. We will dive into it. We also have a race coming up this weekend at Michigan, if the rain holds off, and we will have a jam-packed show. If you're wondering where Travis is, hell, we don't know either.
Yeah, we don't fucking know.
He said he was going to jump in. I don't know. I think he had Dungeons and Dragons tonight, but
that's what it was. That's what it was.
Yeah, it gets
he had some really good. I don't know how you play that, but I think you just make shit up, and he had some really good shit to make up.
Yeah. Yep. And he said he was going to be a warlock and cast a spell so that they could see his tiny gremlin. And I said, I've heard enough. I don't want to hear it.
Maybe he's at an engagement party.
Yeah, whatever that is.
Or a dude baby shower.
William Blanks said, I'm going to comment. Thanks for commenting, William. Before the show even starts.
Yeah,
that looks like, is he speaking of that Buick right there? Is that Buick a woke car?
It is. It's voting for Harris.
Is it?
That's a Harris Walls. That's a Harris Walls Buick Camaro.
I was going to say a Pontiac Plymouth, the old P squared, but okay, it might be that. So thank you, William, for commenting before we even get the show started. If you would like to comment, we do encourage it. We will read it, and we also will reply to it, unless it's just like, hey, get a better beard. And I'm like, I'm trying. So, something like that. But Joe, we've waited long enough. What are we? We're 5 minutes in.
We are.
We've yet to dive into everything that we're willing to talk about today. And let's just go ahead. I made a video yesterday. You've been killing it with the shorts, man. I mean, thank you to the over 10,000 people that have tuned in just to our shorts here in the past week, actually since Sunday, so half week. That's been all Joe putting that content out. Whether you want to see the wreck, the apology, Joey Logano get pissed off, Joey Logano cry, Kyle Busch saying that he wouldn't race for 2 weeks if it wasn't.
We got all angles. We got all angles.
Everything.
Of it.
Yeah. Whatever we can't cover in a video, we cover on our shorts. Not literal shorts or video shorts.
We're both short.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But, we don't do the YouTubes for a living. I do want to give a moment of silence, Joe. Our dear friend Susie Wishy-Washy that used to control the YouTubes, passed away. So let's give a moment of silence. All right, and let's get into the video now. We are ready to roll. So, Joe, let me get your first initial thought of the process so far. Austin Dillon granted the win. NASCAR says we'll wait till Tuesday. Should they have made an immediate decision, or should they have lied to us and said they were going to come out Tuesday and then came out today with the decision? Overall, just the initial process, do you agree with how they handled it so far?
Absolutely not. I don't agree with anything that has been done. I mean, to the point that we're at now. So Sunday, I watched the finish of a race. I mean, hell, Burton, the commentator, told you that there was going to be contact. I watched the ending of that race, and me and you, I don't even know. We're both huge fans of NASCAR. I think that's an understatement. And when we talked for over an hour about the ending of that race and everything that we kind of thought, and I think the general consensus, at least on my part, was I'm really split at what I just saw. Like, you know, you want to see hard racing in NASCAR. You want to see people fight for a win, but you also want to see people race clean. And at the end of the day, I think there's been many people say this, and you said this Sunday night when we talked. The only people to blame for that finish as it stood was sorry, I just read that comment. The only people to blame for that finish that we saw is NASCAR itself and the current playoff system. And, you know, as fans of the sport, we can sit here and talk, hey, what would make this better? How should they do this? What would cause this not to happen? And I think at the end of the day, we are at where we're at with how the playoff system's set up. And it's win and you get in. There's no stipulations on how hard somebody could try to win. And I think what we saw was Austin Dillon drive into turn 3 as hard as he could to bump and run Joey Logano. And I think he hit him a little too hard. I don't for 1 minute believe he was trying to wreck Logano into the wall. I think he was doing everything he could to bump Logano. Logano got loose, went into the wall, and I don't care what's come at the one joker guy that all he talks about is the race line. He was outside of the optimal race line. He 100% trying to hit Hamlin. Well, anybody that's ever done freaking NASCAR Heat 5, let alone iRacing, knows that Austin Dillon did not make the decision to wreck Denny Hamlin. And he didn't even know Denny Hamlin was there. He was trying to get his car straight. Denny Hamlin came up on the track, and it looked like he right hooked him. I don't care what you say. He did not try to right hook Denny Hamlin. And I don't know if that played into the decision today to basically strip his win, which is a whole other topic, and I'll get there because I do want to get there. But I think you blame NASCAR for the finish we saw. I think at the end of the day, I think a finish like that's great for NASCAR. I don't think it's good for racing. But Denny Hamlin says it best right after the race. This is why everybody thinks NASCAR is a joke, because there's no consistency. I have no idea what they're going to do to penalize him, or if they even are, because they just make the rules up as they go. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but that's essentially what he says right after the race. Yeah. So here we get to Wednesday, and we find out that they essentially just made this past weekend's race a freaking all-star race. Yeah, he won. Great. It's in the record books. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? There's no meaning behind it at this point, the way it's set up. And for them to basically discredit that race because they don't like the way that it ended, when they're the ones promoting this, it goes back to, hey, we're going to fine a driver $50,000 to get, for getting into a fight, but then we're going to play that fight all week to try to get people interested in our sport. It's kind of, it's not really the same, but it's kind of the same of, this wreck, this finish has been promoted since literally Sunday after it happened up until now. It's still exploding on online, on social media. And you're going to strip the dude's win because you're telling drivers, hey, go out and do everything you can to win. And by God, when a driver does do everything they can to win, you go, oh no, that's a little bit, you crossed the line. We're going to strip that from you. It's complete and utter bullshit, man. Complete and utter bullshit. And I don't know really how much more direct I could get on that. There's no line here for me. Like, you want to fine them for intentionally wrecking somebody? Okay. You don't you don't say that's a win, but it doesn't count. What kind of bullshit is that, Ryan?
Well, I'm gonna upload this while we're doing it, and William believes exactly what you're saying too, in terms of hitting Denny, that they both went straight. They just both had different lines. Yeah, and I think the point too about the different lines. Well, yeah, they had to go different lines because he wanted to win the race. You can't follow the leader if you don't want to run the race. So let's just look at it one more time real quick while we got people on here, and we'll go from there, and I'll give you my opinion.
Back up through the gears they go, and it doesn't look like a great restart for Dillon. Logano on the outside, they fan out. They're 4 wide, entering turn 1. Logano with a great restart. Logano clears him down the backstretch. Can Dillon fight back? He's had a great car all weekend long. One more time around for Logano. The white flag's in the air.
If Dillon gets to him, there will be contact.
He can't do it in 1 and 2. Logano looks back. He has a car length now. Joey Logano through 3 and 4 for the final time. There's the contact. He does get to him. The 11 on the inside. He gets into the wall. Dillon's going to win it at the line.
I don't know how you take away that win. I don't know how you take that away.
Got one more video. So now that our minds are refreshed, it's there. It's for everybody to see again. What I take away is, like you said, Joe, even though Dillon gassed it, he still didn't gas it enough that he would have hit the wall. Okay? Like, I want to make that clear. If Dillon gassed it so hard that he couldn't have turned, he would have lost this race. He gassed it so he could barely get to Joey's bumper. That track is very, very slick. So once you barely hit somebody, you end up wrecking. Trying to recover after that, and they're going to say that he turned hard left. I hear Austin burping the throttle multiple times because he got loose after hitting him. And they're going to say they turned hard left to hit him. He may have. But the precedent by NASCAR and the precedent of what you want coming out of this is already happened. Hi, fake Twitch person. We have a system, to Williams's point, and Joe, you mentioned this, that you have to win to get in. So the reason and rationale for NASCAR to strip away the de facto point of getting a win, to me, makes no sense. And this is kind of what I talked in the video yesterday. I have tried everything I can when it comes to NASCAR to enjoy this product. And I do. I had a fantasy football draft, and I had people that I know for a fact have never watched a race before losing their mind, knowing that I have all this NASCAR stuff over here and do a show, losing their mind because that was awesome. Okay? Now, we know what NASCAR is going to do. We know what Richmond's going to do. Joe, when the spring race happens next year, if we have 2 races, which is to be determined in Richmond, what clip do you think they're going to play to promote it?
Oh, yeah. 100%. They're going to play that because it's exciting.
You blinked on me there for a second.
Oh, I thought you blinked on me.
So, yeah, but the point is they're going to play the illegal move. The illegal move.
Why is it illegal? Did we get an explanation for this?
So the wording that they use, and I'll share it with you guys.
Are you not allowed to bump and run anymore?
That's going to be the question. So eligibility for the playoffs, which this is a conversation that we've already had when it comes to your boy Kyle Larson and the whole Charlotte fiasco. They kind of turned the eye the other way. But here's the key point. Races finished must be unencumbered by violations of the NASCAR rules detrimental to stock car racing as determined in the sole discretion of NASCAR.
Let me rephrase that for those that can't read stupidity. If we don't want to count your win, we ain't going to.
Right. So what they're saying is because we encumbered the win, we have the right to not make somebody eligible for the playoffs. Any rule that NASCAR has essentially has a statement at the end of it that says, we do what we want when we want. That is brought to you by us, determined by us. F you. So because it's a private entity, because it's its own run by a family, they give themselves an out every which way possible to say, we're going to govern this sport any way that we want to. Yes, there's going to be rules. There's going to be parameters, and we will bend them however the hell we want. If we want Jeff Gordon to make the playoffs because it's his last year, we'll make Jeff Gordon into the playoffs. If we want to give enough points so that multiple people have a chance to make it into the playoffs, we'll do that too. If we want to give somebody their points back, even though they faultly had a louver that is a single source part, if we want to give them back their playoff points because they belong to Hendrick Motorsports, we can do that. We'll just make them pay more of a fine, even though everybody, I guarantee you, Richard Childress say, I'll write you a blank check if you let me be playoff eligible. But certain rules for thee, not for me. We kind of see that in our everyday culture nowadays when it comes to certain things that we won't get into. But NASCAR itself has run the same type of shit. So here's where the root of this all begins. Joe, if we sat down on Sunday and they said this race is under review, we determined that that was reckless driving by Austin Dillon. The fact that he decided to take out two drivers on the final lap, we determined was reckless, especially one of them being a right rear hook, which is the most dangerous move in NASCAR. We had decided to black flag Austin Dillon, and he will no longer be the race winner and finish 2 laps down.
Then Reddick wins.
That's fine. I would have sat here and said, that took balls, but they made a decision. But NASCAR can't have balls and make a decision at the same time. They're going to go, okay, let's look at this for 3 days. Joe, let's get all of our PR staff in here at the same time. Let's hope people forget about the emotion that you're feeling right now. And let's do what we want, but also try to make it look okay too. So they just screw it up on all fronts. Austin, you won the race. You won the race. You legally won the race. You illegally got yourself out of the playoffs. That makes no fucking sense.
No.
That makes no sense at all.
So,
There is no way you can win a race and that race make you playoff eligible, but then say you're not playoff eligible because what you did to win the race. There is a chicken and then the egg type of scenario here. The action is then has a cause and effect type of situation here. And NASCAR just completely says that's not the case. Other sports, Joe, if you were in another sport, the car store, if you were in open wheel dirt racing, and they said, we don't like the way you did things, you're black flagged. That's it. You're done.
yeah,
And nobody questions it. It's
you
over.
can't. You cannot have. That's like sitting in that's like that would be like sitting in a courtroom and a judge coming out with a verdict and saying, "You committed this crime," but the victim put themselves in that situation, so you're still guilty of the crime, but we're going to let you go. Like that's kind of what we're looking at here. Like, you cannot, it's illogical. Like, that's the best word for me to use here. It's an illogical statement on the part of NASCAR saying you legally won that race, but it's not going to count toward the playoffs because you illegally won that race. That's what they said. like either he won the race or he didn't. That's how you get in the playoffs, right? You win races. If you win, you're in.
Correct.
So now you're telling us if you win, you're maybe in if we're okay with the way that you won the race.
And we still don't know
what happened in Martinsville.
Okay, was it Joey Logano's wreck that they didn't like? Was it Denny Hamlin's wreck they didn't like? Was it both wrecks being together? So you can't wreck more than one person? You know, Denny Hamlin said we have a line in NASCAR, but it's invisible. And I think a lot of people believe that. And again, I want to preface this. Like, if they took the win away that night, I would have been like, that really sucks, but I understand it. But this is not the way you do it. You don't give a fake trophy and then don't get the benefits of getting the trophy. That just makes no sense. You got to remember, they took away first and second place at Pocono for a piece of Scotch tape.
Tape.
But allow him to win even though he took out two competitors. There's just no world. What, like, if it, I told this to somebody today that doesn't watch NASCAR. They're like, man, what's going on with this Austin Dillon stuff? And I said, dude, if you were an alien and you came down to Earth and I tried to explain to you what would happen, you just get in your fucking spaceship and say, there's idiots down there. We'll blow it up instead of taking it over. We'll just blow it up. We're not going to settle there. God forbid we have intercourse with any of them and try to make it a different civilization. We're just going to get out of here and we're going home. You know, it's almost like trying to describe what's a catch in football. It's like, well, sit down. We're going to talk about it for a few minutes. It just doesn't make any sense, man. And
here's my question, and not to harp on it, not to cut you off, but here's my question. A Super Bowl can literally be decided in a split second, right? Like, you have to make a decision on the field based on what you've seen. And we're not even asking NASCAR to do that. We're saying, hey, go back and watch the replay a couple times, make a logical decision, but let us know. Like, if you can't make a decision right there, you can't wait 3 days and go, oh, yeah, this is what we decided. Let tempers, settle down. Like, you got to be black and white. And we've been saying this for however long we've been doing this show on, this channel and previous channels. Make a damn decision. Be consistent and stop making fucking shit up all the time. I'm sorry. It gets me riled up. Just quit making shit up. Like, have a fucking rule book and follow the damn thing.
Right. And the reason why it's passionate is because we as NASCAR fans, when I got people that tell me, all they do is turn left, NASCAR puts itself in a box to have these type of things come out and people, go, that's why I don't watch. They don't take themselves seriously. The thing about wrestling doesn't hide that it's fake. It wants to be entertaining. NASCAR is trying to be both. It's trying to be entertaining while also trying to be a serious sport. And too many times, the rule that Austin Dillon tried to follow to get into the playoffs was for one reason only, Joe: entertainment. The reason we have a playoffs, the reason why it's when to get in, is for entertainment. It's not to make the best possible, the true champion. The same way the NCAA tournament. You don't have 64 teams play each other, 68 teams now, play each other, one loss and you're out to get a true champion. You say, hey, this is your body of work. You guys go at it. We'll determine a champion. The way they used to do it. Hey, you guys race for 36 races. Whoever's the best, 32 back in the day, whoever's the best is the champion. No, they're like, that's not as entertaining. Let's do this. So you mentioned, the situation about like a cop. To me, the playoffs are entrapment. Hey, man, I'm going to give you a beer. I think you're a good guy. You may have had a little too much to drink, but this one's on me. All right, man, I appreciate it. You walk out of the bar, the same cop is sitting there and going, I'm going to bust you because I think you're going to get in your car and I think you're going to have a DUI. It's like, whoa, like, you just gave me the beer. The same thing with the playoffs. Hey, we want you guys to do anything, win at all costs.
It's the only thing
Except that.
It's the
Except
only
that.
thing that matters. Literally, until you get to the playoffs, winning's the only thing that matters. And we had this conversation right after the race. And every year, does the best driver win the championship every year? Was Ryan Blaney the best driver last year in NASCAR? No.
He was the hottest driver in the last month, but
Right.
no, he was not the best
When
driver.
Joey Logano won his last championship, was he the best driver in NASCAR that year?
No.
You don't get the best driver winning the chase every year. Just like you don't get the best. Sometimes you do. Sometimes there's an anomaly. Just like you don't get the best basketball team winning the NCAA championship every year. You know, normally what you get, like the only sport that I could say you probably get the best team winning the championship is Major League Baseball. Because when you can go out and you can win 4 out of 7 games, or you can win 3 out of 5 games, and you play people that many games in a row, usually the cream rises to the top, or a team that's getting hot is able to put together enough.
There, Joe. Elon must be mad at Joe. But no, to Joe's point, the thing that happens. Whoa,
My Starlink's terrible.
that scared me. It restarted me too. Hey.
I don't know. You're frozen on my screen, man.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We're
Okay.
live, buddy.
That's all that matters. Then you can hear me. But no, like you were saying, I think baseball is the same thing. Momentum's next day starting pitcher. The same thing when it comes to NASCAR. Like, yeah, you might be good at one track, but then the next track comes along. Does it work in your favor? Like all these different type of precedents to where they try to determine a winner, but it's not the same playing field every single week. And for people like Ryan Blaney, the end of the year just happens to be his best tracks, and so he got hot at the right time. Here we go. Why is no one talking? And I mean, no one about Recce McSpinhouse bringing out another caution flag affecting the end of the race. I think we have apathy. Really, it's just part of it.
I'll say this: I'm not a Recce fan. Never have been, but I will say that him and Priest were both at fault for that one. I think Recce came up or Priest came up and Recce came down, and I don't know that. I think that was two mediocre drivers wrecking into each other at a very ill-advised time, or it could have been on purpose. You never know.
They also were not fighting for position. I know some people. The conspiracy is that Recce was using his big brain to ruin an RCR finish of Austin Dillon winning. Maybe. I mean, that's pretty cool. If they thought that, then I guess Ricky should get fined for altering the outcome of a race on purpose. Same way Cole Custer did whenever they were like, you got a flat tire, brake. And it was just to get Chase Briscoe into the next round of the playoffs. But so going back to it, the question I have for you, Joe, do you think NASCAR pivots and says, hey, maybe the playoffs aren't the best way of doing this the way that we have them. Maybe one race for a championship isn't the best way of doing this. Do you think that they completely revert and go full circle and go back to something that we've had previously?
I don't know. I wish they would. I don't like the current playoff system. I don't like the fact that you could be the most consistent driver in NASCAR and not be. I don't like the fact that you could be a top 10 finisher for 4 races and not advance once you get into the later rounds of the playoffs. You could literally finish top 10 for 4 races and not make it through. And I think that is, I think that's kind of really a travesty because at the end of the day, you go back and the most consistent driver all year, you didn't even have to win a race, which I know that was the goal, to promote winning and not just running a solid race and trying to get top fives, top 10 finishes week in and week out. But really, doesn't consistency really show the best? I mean, not to pull from iRacing, like I'm usually when I get on and I race and I'm with people that are really good, that have really high I ratings, I'm usually not fast enough on tracks to compete for a win. But I have learned how to race well enough and use the right strategy on longer races that I'm usually in the top 10 or top 5 at the finish, because I don't race like a dumbass and I try to race consistent lines and consistent speeds the whole race. Watch my gas, watch my fuel, don't eat up my tires. And when, people that decide to race hard all race start wrecking and start sliding all over the place, I usually have some pretty decent tires left. And I normally get faster than people. The point is, that same strategy equates to real life. And when you have a race car driver that week in and week out can go and get top 5 and top 10 finishes for the entire length of the season, to me, they're one of the best drivers in the sport. Whether or not they're fast enough week in, whether or not they're Kyle Larson, who is always competing for a win, or Denny Hamlin, who's always competing for a win. When you talk about the elite drivers in the sport, there's a lot to be said about consistency as well. And that's with every sport. And I think you've taken those type of drivers out of it. And really, at the end of the day, those consistent drivers are the ones out there not wrecking cars, that are competing for top 10s and top 5s and building up points all season. And a lot of times they're left out of the championship when they should be competing there. So I would like to see maybe a hybrid of the system that we have now, or, like you said, the first year of the chase, top 10 drivers reset their points for 10 races, and the most consistent driver wins over those 10 races. That's not a bad system. It's not as exciting, I guess.
Yeah.
But you, like you said, you're also a huge fan of the sport. NASCAR has to, and maybe you're going to bring this up, and I'm not trying to steal your thunder, but NASCAR has to find a way at the end of the year to compete with the NFL. And if you got a driver that's running away with the chase with 200 points, nobody's going to give a shit to watch because it's already over with. All you got to do is show up.
Here's the thing that bothers me the most, Joe. You mentioned earlier, like, okay, we're diehards. I mean, I literally have a fantasy football draft. I'm a Bengals season ticket holder. I have a NASCAR race on during my fantasy football draft because I'm not missing the race. I turn my phone off during Bengals football games when I go to the game, so I don't have to worry about hearing about the race. Say you're a casual. Say that Atlanta brought you in, Joe. Say that Kansas brought you in. Say that the craziness at Bristol brought you in. Say that the Chicago street race brought you in. When have you ever heard on a Wednesday after what you watched on an NFL Sunday that completely affected what happens for the rest of the year? You ever sat there and was like, yeah, the Bengals lost in overtime, but, I think if they review that we had a first down in the third quarter, they may give us that win back, and that'll put us right back in the playoff picture.
Right.
Like a casual race fan that just got into NASCAR, this is completely like, I can't fucking keep up with it. This is crazy. So he won, but he didn't win. He won, but he didn't. There's too much to this sport that turns people off. If you watch the product on the track, it's great. There's things that can be improved. Short tracks and road courses absolutely can be improved. I'm expecting a really good race coming up this weekend at Michigan if we have anything close to what we had last year. There's things that we can do to incrementally improve to make it attempt to be a perfect product, even though it's never been a perfect product. But the things that NASCAR does will turn off the casual fan because they simply cannot keep up with it. When the playoffs come, like, man, I watched that crazy-ass race. The 3's not in the playoffs? What? No, I was seeing him. He won. That's the rule, right? And then you're diving in. You're going through. I guess he didn't get in, even though when I went to bed that night they said he won. Oh, okay. That I guess doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it is what it is. So it just turns people off. Joe, we have a society that won't watch more than a 30-second video. You think they're going to wait till Wednesday to find out who the true winner of a race is? No, not at all.
Even
They're not going to pay attention.
I would even venture to say that a lot of people who are more than casual fans that make it a point to watch the race or at least part of the race every Sunday. I'd say there's a large majority of NASCAR fans that don't even know that this has happened yet. They're going to find out about it when they tune into the race on Sunday and they're talking about it. So, it's absolutely absurd. One, I've already been on my rant about being consistent and following your own rules. But two, man, you got to put a time limit on that. You can't wait till Wednesday and say, hey, we're stripping you of this. And the problem, I mean, the only time you ever hear about that is, like previously here in the Olympic Games, hey, yeah, we're taking back their gold medal because they tested positive for steroids or what have you, illegal substances in their body. And that's understandable. But to sit here on Wednesday and go, yeah, we've all kind of decided, like, we came here, we had a couple drinks, and we just decided we don't want you in the playoffs. And we know you're not going to win another race. So you're out, buddy. That's pretty much what they did. And I think that is absurd.
And what's even worse is they probably went to social media and said, what's the most popular opinion on social media? And that is never typically the right opinion. I to William's point, the Hail Melon would have been tried by Austin Dillon if it wasn't illegal. I guarantee you Austin Dillon would much have rather rode across the wall in fifth gear than downshifting and turning and going the way that he had to go about it. I guarantee you if that was still a legal move, he would have, or still a legal move, he would have tried it. So it makes me worried for the sport because as much as that we're trying to grow it, Joe, we're the means of how news gets out now. There is no cable television that gives you a weekly show now.
Right.
It's YouTube and Twitter that are the way that the news gets passed out. And without us, we're the only thing that people have to stand on when it comes to gathering information, getting an understanding. And the thing about this channel, you're going to get three different opinions. Travis, if he showed up and wasn't fondling himself to fucking wizards and stuff, he would be here and may have a completely different opinion than what we have. That's completely fair. I on a video mentioned yesterday how much I'm a hypocrite when it comes to the different things. I stood against you. I vividly remember when Ross Chastain took out Alex Bowman and took out AJ Allmendinger at Circuits of the American. I'm like, that's just not how racing is supposed to be.
Well,
wait a second. Ross Chastain didn't lose that fucking win. He was allowed to keep that win whenever he took those guys out. Yeah. I don't know what the rules are.
Well, and I was perfectly okay with the way he won that race too. If you remember, but
you've been consistent.
And you're right. And as far as news gets out, it's unadulterated news. And at least on this channel, you get three perspectives. I mean, you get a young generation Xer, a Xennial, if you call it. You get whatever you are, millennial, whatever the hell fucking Travis is, like Boomer or a Zoomer. I don't know what the hell they call him. He's a young dude. Like they go to baby showers as dudes now. We learned that. That's probably what he's doing. And
bring mimosas.
Yeah, and drinking mimosas and going to baby showers and engagement parties. The new thing. And girlfriend day. Did you know there's a girlfriend day?
I did not know there was a girlfriend day.
Yeah, there's a girlfriend day now. It's not Valentine's Day anymore, like a special day for girlfriends.
I actually celebrate they them day. So
yeah, me too.
So yeah. But not to get off on a tangent or things like that.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. This is where YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. I hate to say it, TikTok. I mean, that's where people are going for their news now. Because heaven forbid you sit down and you watch an actual broadcast of anything anymore for 30 minutes. So we need it in 30 seconds. And you got to tell us right now what the problem is. And we're going to, like, the entire country can make up their mind in a 15-second video. It takes NASCAR 3 days to do it. It's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we're going to keep doing that. And the best thing about this channel is that you, like William Blanks is today, have an opportunity to be part of this conversation, have your voice heard, and we talk about it. That's what we want. We want a community to where we're all talking about. There's so many good points that come from the chat that we ourselves may not have thought about. It's not like we're sitting on here on a pedestal because we got a camera in front of us. We want to be a part of something that we all can talk about, bring forth opinions that maybe we haven't thought about, and work through them. That's what makes it really, really fun. Actually, that sounds great.
That's a hell of a name for a show. And you know what we know by that, William? That you're a Gen Xer? We know that you played outside and drank from the garden hose. Did you ever play lawn darts? Those were fucking fun.
Yeah, because if he was a Gen Zer, it would have said an IPA and burgers. But
yeah, an IPA. I'll have me a nice mead.
All right. Well, we're headed to the Irish Hills of Michigan, so let's go ahead and preview it. Last year, I made the trip over to the what was kind of rainy, damp Michigan. Watched my driver wreck in the first 10 laps, and then it got rained out. So probably one of the worst days I've ever been to in my entire life. Oddly enough, Travis Reitzman and his buddy Carl were up there. I was staying in Michigan. They drove up. They said, ha, 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 I can't believe that Kyle Busch wrecked. That's terrible. And then 5 laps later, Chase Elliott wrecked. And the quote was, I'm getting the out of here. So not a great day for 8 fans. Not a great day for 9 fans. Murder darts. So what are your expectations when it comes to, well, I mean, I guess the last true non-super speedway 2-mile track?
Yeah, I think what we're going to watch. I mean, tire wear, I think is going to be an issue. What line are you going to pick to run? I think that's always an issue there. And, as long as it stays green, you're looking at a fuel mileage race as well, I think. So at least in that last stage, I think the first 2 stages are, I think, pretty well planned out. But I think there's a lot of decisions that you have to make. And I forget how many laps the last stage is. I don't know if you have that on hand, but I think it's almost double stage 1, if I remember right. I can't.
It's 200 laps, so usually they go 50, 50, 100, something like that.
Okay, yeah. So, and I think, and I don't know how many laps of that you get for a tank of fuel at Michigan. What is it, 36?
I'm guessing they're going to split it in half. I think they'll split stage 1 in half, stage 2 in half.
So,
and then it'll vary in stage.
As long as it's clean racing and the cautious stay down, I think you're going to see a lot of strategy in that last stage. So, I think consistency and Auto Club, rest in peace, and Kentucky Speedway. So, but I think whoever runs consistent, these are one. I know Chris Buescher won last year, and I normally say racetracks that take strategy like this to win. I usually look at veterans to compete well, and I think that's probably the case. But you also, I also want to. You got to kind of look at who has competed well here as well. So, that's kind of what I'm looking at. That I think Michigan normally runs clean, other than what you had to witness. But Michigan normally runs clean. I know that that turn 2 could be a little tricky, especially when people are racing hard. But outside of that, I think that this is a strategy race, the 2-mile strategy race, basically.
It's been one that actually fans have clamored. It's something that the next gen car has done better with. Michigan used to have 2 races. It had the Firekeepers 400, and then um, I think it had Let's Go Bowling for a while, and then that went over to Watkins Glen, and a different type of a sponsor. I feel like it's more of a tourism sponsor, but now we only have one race, and I think people really, really enjoy it. I think that's also something NASCAR should consider is unless there's like 4 different tracks, everything should have one race because I feel like it helps so much with that wanting of more, and we don't get that a lot in NASCAR. It's always way too much of something. Um, I think we've had some really, really good races. It's one of the fastest tracks that we'll see the entire year. Indianapolis, we had speeds close to 200. I think we'll have speeds in the 190s, which is sad to say that, but in 2024, that's really fast for these cars. So, you got to have good handling. You're going to have speed. You will draft on the backstretch. And, who ends up coming out of practice, Joe, if you're going to make your bets, that's where I really, really start to hammer because you have to come off the trailer fast. It's not one of those things that you can just dial it in. You don't have enough practice. You don't have enough time. So the first car that comes off the trailer fast, and we saw it last year with Chris Buescher, he was consistently fast in those 3 race spans that he won. I feel like we're going to see the same thing, possibly somebody else this year. Ford traditionally hasn't run good here, even though it's in their own backyard. But last year they kind of turned that around. Martin Truex was dominant here until Chris Buescher decided to just elevate his game in the last part of it. But, I'm looking for a really, really fun race, and I hope the people of Michigan are blessed with good weather. But, we shall see. Typically with NASCAR, we've had like 3 weeks in a row where it hasn't rained. Race weekends, not consecutive. And, it's probably time Mother Nature shows its ugly face. Let's look at our picks. First, the standings. Travis is well ahead. He's done really good so far.
That's not well ahead.
Well, I was looking at me.
Points.
I wasn't looking at you. He's actually slipped back a lot compared to what he was.
He's well ahead of you. He's not well ahead of me.
You're right. So Travis's picks, he goes with Christopher Bell, Austin Dillon, the one, the only, Kyle Larson, like every single week. He chose to go with the rival, Chase Elliott, and then went with Martin Truex. Joe, describe your picks here for us.
Well, obviously, I picked Kyle Larson because I pick him every week, and it's not only because I'm a fan, but also, I mean, if you're on a 1.5 mile or longer track, I'm taking Kyle Larson. That's just how it is. Hendrick hasn't been terribly good on the short tracks this year. But, obviously Martin Truex Jr., I think has he finished second here the last 2 years in a row?
I believe so.
I know at least last year he did. Carson Hocevar, because we got to pick somebody outside the top 20. That's really the only reason for that. And I figure, hey,
had a top 10 this past week again, outrunning his teammates.
Yeah, that's it is, but I really don't compare Richmond to Michigan in any way. I don't think those two translate at all on how well you're going to drive each one of these tracks. Denny Hamlin, as much as I hate the guy, obviously week in and week out, he's just there. He's just there. And Buescher, because, Buescher won here last year, and he knows how to win here.
This week, I went with the hottest team in NASCAR, Joe, and I think that's right now 23-11. I went with Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace. They've been Tyler Reddick has finished top 3 in the last 4 races?
Yeah.
I mean, it's been crazy. Bubba Wallace has moved himself back into the playoff picture. He's 3 points up now. I went with Austin Dillon because they showed speed last week. And with 2 weeks off, if you show speed at Richmond, I feel like you can show speed at a bigger track. And it seems like that's where RCR actually does better, are these bigger tracks. So I went with Austin Dillon and Kyle Busch, as scary as that is. I will be losing or gaining a lot of points this week based upon that. And I did the opposite. You chose Chris Buescher because Chris Buescher had the better race last year. I went with his teammate because his teammate has been outrunning him this year. I think the speed is still there, but I'm going to give it to the 6 car instead of the 17 car. And like I said, I am pretty far behind, so I need to do something different. So might as well have 5 completely different cars outside of Austin Dillon.
why is Austin Dillon eligible? Because that was
That's a good
bring
point.
bring those picks back up.
He almost killed somebody.
Yeah, so Austin Dillon is only eligible because NASCAR took his playoff points away, right?
No, we go by points, and Austin was still 26 in points.
Okay, all right, fine.
So
I feel like if you're playoff eligible, which he's not, but I don't think Travis knew that during the we picked our drivers. But I think if you're playoff eligible, you probably shouldn't be allowed to be the outside of the top 20 pick. Just throwing that out there.
Joe.
Look.
So if I choose Austin Cindric, you're going to stand on a pedestal and scream that I chose Austin Cindric other than going, yeah, yes.
No. I am allowed to use NASCAR logic in my decision making as rules.
Oh, I forgot. That's true.
As rules for this. And I feel like I could just make them up as we go. And we are going to take away Travis's pick. So Travis,
I don't know. I think that's actually the spell that Travis used tonight at Dungeons and Dragons.
We're going to take away Travis's Austin Dillon pick, but we're not going to tell him till Sunday.
And I get to keep mine?
Yeah.
Perfect. Or if this works worse in my favor, we'll switch it. We'll take away mine. I'll replace it with somebody else. Travis will then keep his. And
I feel like you can do that.
Yeah, I don't see why not. So, again, thank you guys for tuning into the show. We are on Facebook, Patreon, Rumble. Joe is on Twitch. He is on Kick. He is on the Tiki Talkies. He will be running races.
I would say go to the TikToks at Stuck in the Catch Fence if you want to see some live racing almost every night. But I will also say this. We pretty much abandoned our Twitch account. And I know Mr. Johnson is watching from Twitch right now. But he's the only one that watches on Twitch. And we do play our shows out over there. Twitch's algorithm is kind of bad. I'm public.
I actually got to race with Mr. Eric and
pretty good,
got a top 7 using the Gen 4 car. I actually forgot where the hell we raced last week because things happen in life. But yeah, that was really fun. He's got a great league. Enjoy that very, very much. We
have to go, William. There's iRacing to do.
So again, you can catch us. We'll have shorts for the rest of the week as well. Joe, mention let them hear about the racing league that you got coming up here in September.
Oh yeah, so actually we got a short TikTok video about it. Starting the first weekend in September, we here at Stuck in the Catch Fence are going to put on 10 qualifying races for 5 weeks. We're going to go 2 a night every Saturday for 5 weeks, and we are going to run, a little bit lengthier races, not quite full, not half length or anything like that, but we're talking 75, 80 laps, mile and a half, probably 50 laps at super speedways. We're going to run 10 qualifying races. The top 4 in each one of those qualifying races will qualify to do a championship race at the end of the 5 weeks. So it'll be the 6th week, buy-in championship race where 60% will go to the winner. I think it was 30 and 10. 30 will go to second, 10. All the money that's brought in the buy-in race, the championship buy-in race, will be paid out to everybody that podiums. If we do not have enough commitment to the buy-in race, we will then invite the next one up from each one of the championship races to see if they want to get in. So would be the 5th place finisher of the first race, and we'll just go down the order of that of the 10 races to try to fill out all 40 positions. The final race will be on a super speedway, just because I think that gets more people interested in it, and people like running on super speedways.
William, where are you from, bud? Are you from? Do you know William personally, Joe?
I do. I don't want to say that I do or don't because I don't know if I do or don't. I don't want to offend anybody if I do that.
That actually will probably be in NASCAR's.
That's the Kamala Harris. It's.
It would be unburdened of me to let people know Who I know, because if I know you, I know you, and if I
Cleared
don't
that-
know you, I want to know you.
cleared that up.
Unburdened.
No, I don't. I don't. Not that I care about being offensive, but like you never know. So with my job, I run into people all day. I would say that I don't know him, Lynn Haven, Florida. But I run into, how many contacts with people I have every year, and
I don't. I try to avoid that if I'm going to be completely honest.
yeah,
To
me
have-
too. But
So.
it's what I have to do. And as you know, some of the people that I do have contact with never talk to me. But,
We're not talking about your family. We're talking about people on YouTube.
right. So, but anyway, all I'm saying is like if somebody knows me and we had like a great conversation or something, and I forgot about that, I don't want to offend somebody by being like, yeah, I don't remember them. But that may happen, and I'm not trying to be that way because then that makes me sound like an arrogant asshole, and I'm not. I just talk to a lot of people, and I do the best I can to remember everybody, though.
Right. And to the guy in Northeast Pennsylvania that was playing darts with me, I will fight you. I'm still waiting on
He will fight you. And they thought that they thought that I was a dart shark, and I was like, nope, never played this shit before in my life.
Never, ever. I'm not as good as I once was, but I am tonight. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Hubert. Thank you, William. We appreciate it, Eric. So we will be back. And again, William, you can always catch us. I always try to put this out as early as I possibly can. We don't have YouTube salaries. We have real life salaries. So we try to do this in our spare time, but also we love doing it. We're back in the saddle and ready to rock and roll here on our push to the playoffs and then in the playoffs and beyond. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. For Joe Mama, for our boy playing D&D and not getting any P to the Y. My name is Ryan Peters. Stay safe. God bless. Peace.